Hey everybody, it's Dominic with Mindful Relationship Bootcamp. Today is day 7. Today's topic is about lowering, listening, and loving your partner. And what I mean by that is lowering your voice, listening more, and that's going to allow you to love your partner, especially in times of disagreement. When you're in a time when you're about to have an argument or you're disagreeing or someone has an opinion they need to share, one of the things that is really counterintuitive to finding resolve is when we raise our voices and when we get louder and louder and shout and shout. Now, I don't know about you guys, but Meredith and I both grew up where there was raised voices in our houses. And so that was common for us to, when we got into argument, to raise our voice and to get louder and louder. But the problem with arguments and raising your voice is that they don't line up with the intent and the solution, because when you're in an argument or a debate, generally what you want to do is you want to feel heard. You want someone to hear you and to say, oh, I hear what you're saying, I see where you're coming from. But when you are going to an argument or a shouting match, then it becomes a couple things. One, it becomes that there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. Number 2, it becomes competitive, where you start getting louder and louder. 3, when you're in a shouting environment, then it triggers a fight or flight response. And that becomes a more emotionally invested in an actual fight, that your adrenaline levels go up and you lose more control over your behaviors and your emotions. And so by all of these things, it's just counterintuitive, because at the end of the day, if you're arguing with someone, you want to feel resolved. You want to feel that someone heard you. You want to feel at the end of an argument that they go, okay, I get where you're coming from, even if you disagree. Okay, so I'll tell you, let me start with this. I am no saint. I don't claim to be. I don't play one on TV. I grew up 4th child, 2 strong-willed parents, and I felt like I had to fight for my voice. I felt for many years that I didn't have a voice, so I didn't know where I fit in. And so I would always raise my voice, and that was my thing. I'd get angry, I'd get loud, and I was a really angry young man in my 20s. But I knew that was not the only way. I was like, you know what? There's got to be another way. I cannot be doomed to be this way for the rest of my life. And that's when I started making conscious changes. I started making conscious choices. And that's when I really started delving into this and figuring out, okay, how am I going to change the emotions that I'm feeling that bubble up within me? And 2, how am I going to treat people better? And so, especially ever since when I got into this relationship with Meredith and we got married, that I made a commitment saying, I am going to keep my voice lower, because I may not be able to control the emotions that I feel on any given moment, like when I'm triggered, but what I can control are, number 1, my breath, and number 2, the volume of my voice. And so here are your action steps today that'll help you lower, listen, and love. Number 1, take a breath before you speak. I don't know if you've ever used a pressure cooker in your oven, or in your stove before, but a pressure cooker is built off of the idea of trapping steam in and not letting it out. And what happens is the pressure builds up, and it creates an environment where things cook very quickly. But it's really hard to control, because you can overcook something really quickly. So the whole idea about taking a breath is to taking that steam cover off and letting steam out and letting it de-escalate. Because the whole point of having, again, this argument is to find resolve. And so if you can take a breath, then you let the steam out, you come back down, and then you can allow yourself, your brain and your body to work together. Number 2, I will drill this into you forever. Stand to the side. If you're going to have a disagreement with someone, it's a lot easier when you put the problem out there and you're standing to the side, instead of having them be the problem or you're the problem, by standing right across from them. Number 3, when you are in this disagreement, to start sprinkling words like, honey, I love you, to start sprinkling words like, I hear what you're saying. Because like I said, out of any argument, people just want to know that they're being heard. And so by saying, honey, I hear what you're saying, I love you, let's just get through this, is really going to help the process. And the last thing that you can do today is to lower your voice. You can't get to a shouting match if you never raise your voice to begin with. But if you're all the way up there, then it's really harder to bring it back down, because it's like a ladder step. It goes higher and higher and higher. But at the first time, if one of you raises your voice, you lower your voice. You bring it lower. And that way you guys have to find a medium where you can talk. But by you lowering it and staying there, it makes the person have to come back down to you. Now, this is something that may not be the easiest thing, because generally when you attract someone, you usually attract the person who you are at the time you meet them. And so if I had a history of raising my voice, I attracted Meredith, who had a history of raising her voice. And so it's kind of hard to deprogram that. And you'll meet a decent amount of resistance, especially in the first few times you do this. But when you first start the argument, and if you lower your voice right away, they may get frustrated, but it will work wonders the more that you do this, because you start getting used to speaking at a lower level. Now, this is the funniest story that I have, because Meredith and I were talking about something, and she was getting really upset with me, and I said, honey, can you whisper, please? And she's like, I'm not going to whisper. And I said, honey, I hear you, I love you, I can't talk that high right now. Can you just whisper? Just let's whisper it. Let's try to be nice to each other. I want to hear it. You got to say, I won't say anything for 2 minutes, but just whisper to me. And she goes, okay, I am so angry at you. I can't believe it. She started laughing, because you cannot be angry and whisper at the same time. Their body and mind don't match up, and it breaks you out of a cycle. And she was like, you know what? It's stupid. Like, I don't know why I was angry. She's like, I don't get it, because it's not that important. Sometimes the fights we feel we need to have when we're in a heightened state, they feel important. But if you break that cycle, it's really not that important. So take these, love your peeps, and do these 4 steps. Number 1, take a breath to de-escalate. Number 2, stand to the side, or stand to the side this way. Have a shared view instead of being right at them. Number 3, sprinkle in the words, honey, I love you, and sprinkle in the words, I hear what you're saying. And lastly, lower your voice. By coming together and to realizing that you can have debates and you can have arguments and you may not see eye to eye, doesn't mean you need to fight, because fighting takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot out of you. And you know what? Getting along is easy if you make it easy. So try to deprogram this, do your best, and just take this one day at a time. And that's all you can do. And you guys got this. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.